Hello and welcome to another episode of Ask the Prof. Thanks for joining me again. Today we're going to talk about a topical gel. There are a lot of gels out there on the market right now that claim to work as a ergogenic aid, whether it's buffering lactic acid, reducing pain, reducing inflammation, so on and so forth. And typically these products are met with a healthy level of skepticism. Part of this is because Americans typically believe that our skin is this impenetrable barrier, which is not really true. The other reason is it definitely throws up a bunch of red flags when one such company decides to hire the world's most famous doper to come out and say their product is a game changer. That's not the product I'm talking about today. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a product called Lactigo. So Lactigo is a topical carnosine cream that they report to be able to reduce soreness after the fact and prevent muscular fatigue during exercise. That all sounds well and good, but let's see what the science has to say about it. So if you've looked at any or watched any of the previous Ask the Prof videos that I've done on products or on a product review, I have this process that I go through. Step one of this process is always physiological rationale. So just because a product makes these claims, step one is there any reason that claim could actually be true? So that's where we're going to start here with Lactigo. Carnosine is well documented to be known as a pH buffer, or helps us get rid or prevent lactic production. It's also shown to help within the muscle to maintain calcium sensitivity. Without getting too complex, calcium is needed in order for a muscle to contract. So what happens is the extra hydrogen or acid that can be created during intense physical activity can go and fight with the calcium binding sites, and that will either weaken the contraction or prevent the contraction from occurring in certain circumstances. So the whole point of carnosine is to get into the muscle and prevent that hydrogen from fighting with the calcium essentially in the myofilaments themselves. So if we can actually increase the muscle carnosine level, we should be able to carry on high intensity physical activity for longer or maintain higher intensities throughout a workout. So the logical first step would be, can we take an oral carnosine supplement? Well, unfortunately, this isn't very successful. We can't get it to cross the gut wall. It's broken down. And so when we take an oral carnosine or take it in pill form, it cannot successfully increase muscle carnosine level. One of the most popular supplements in the pre-workout world is beta-alanine. I'm sure you've all heard of that. It's popular for a couple of reasons. One is because it's one that you can feel working, because it causes your skin to tingle, and if you can feel it working, it must be working. But another is because there is some research that shows that it can actually get into the muscle and help us increase the muscle carnosine levels. Unfortunately, when we take beta-alanine, only about 3% of that supplement that we're taking in actually gets into the muscle and can affect the carnosine amounts. And so what that requires is a preloading phase, all right, which can be 3 weeks to up to 10 weeks, depending on what research you're looking at. Linking a couple of those studies below for your information if you want to check them out. All right, so that becomes a little bit of counterproductive. You have to continually take it every day for up to 10 weeks in order to get the true effect. So is it possible to get carnosine into the muscle or into the body without taking it in oral form, or without trying to do that 10-week preloading phase? So Lactigo as a product is a topical gel. So if it can do that, there would be a physiological rationale for this product to be effective as improving the intensity that you're able to do, and possibly reduce DOMS or muscle soreness after the fact. So based on all that, step one, the physiological rationale, we can give a check mark there. So we've talked a little bit about the physiological rationale, but we also need to talk about why would even this product be an important in the first place, especially for me as an endurance athlete, right? The whole idea of aerobic activity is with oxygen, you're not producing lactate. Well, that's not really true. Basically, especially during training, we're doing a lot of top end intervals and a lot of intervals well above our lactate threshold, which is kind of the term that most of you have probably heard before. So basically, as we get above that lactate threshold, that defined is basically we're producing more lactate than our body can get rid of. All right, so in theory, if we can get rid of the lactate better, we're able to either perform, push that lactate threshold ceiling a little bit higher, or perform bouts of exercise above that lactate threshold for longer periods of time before the lactate is going to cause us to slow down. Another way of saying that would be we could possibly do repeated or recover better from repeated bouts of exercise above that threshold because we're able to buffer it better, get rid of it better, or produce less of it. Next, we need to look at studies evaluating topical carnosine and athletic performance. This is really easy to find using rats and using rabbits and even horses. And before you ask, no, this isn't the product that the recent Kentucky Derby winner was using that got him disqualified. This is completely safe sport certified, all right? But, there are a ton of animal studies out there, but part of my criteria in the sniff test is finding it on as close to my population, endurance athletes, as possible. So I was able to find one study that looked at elite soccer males. This study was, for all I could see, was not supported by Lactigo itself. It's possible that it was, but it was not listed in the acknowledgments in the publication. Again, adding a little bit of credibility and removing some of that bias, which is important to me. So the test that examined the elite soccer players used both the yo-yo or the beep test as well as 3 by 1,000 meter runs. And what it showed was that when they had the Lactigo on versus when they had the Lactigo, when they didn't, they performed better. So improvements were seen with both trials. So this suggests that not only can Lactigo be effective at increasing anaerobic performance or repeated anaerobic performance, it also doesn't need or doesn't require a loading phase like the beta-alanine might. All right, so there could be a lot of benefit to that. Now, if you know the criteria I have, the last one is always relevant audience. It would have been great for me to be able to find a study using cyclists, runners, or triathletes. Unfortunately, I didn't find that in the research yet, and so I can't give it that final check mark there. But just because I don't have that study in front of me doesn't mean that I have to throw the product away specifically. This is definitely enough. The study that I referenced and I'm linking below is definitely enough to color me intrigued. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a full-on product review of this company in a later video. All right, and I'm not going to just be one of those videos that jumps out and says, this is great, I feel it working, it's awesome. What I'm going to try to do is design a series of bikes and runs. And so basically I have 4 separate workouts, 2 that I'll use and 2 that I won't use. And I'll hopefully be able to compare heart rate to pace, heart rate to power for those respectively, and be able to show you firsthand what my thoughts are. So does it get 1,000% gold star? Not quite yet, but it's enough for me to give it a try and to really see if I can see some benefits within my own training. And I hope to be able to give you some quantitative remarks on that in a later video. So if you've made it this far, you're obviously interested enough in the content to stay tuned for the full review that I have, hopefully giving some quantitative data on the product itself. In order to make sure that you don't miss that, make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, give me a like so other people can check out the video as well. Otherwise, we'll see you next time.